everyone.
Good morning.
Water. It is the source of all life. Water makes up about 65% of our bodies, and it makes up more than 70% of the earth. But not only does water give life, it houses life as well. And this is in the form of marine life. Marine life is very important to us because it is a part of our environment. And to keep the longevity of the earth, to keep our earth alive, we have to keep marine life safe. And not only does it keep the earth alive, it keeps us alive as well. I'm studying to become a marine biologist, and I have done tons of hours of research on this topic. Today I will talk about the important topics when it comes to marine life. And I will talk about the types of marine life, how marine life affects us, and how we affect marine life. The types of marine life can be divided into many categories and subcategories. Some include the bigger species, which are mammals like dolphins and whales and sea lions and sea otters. And in case you didn't know, we all know that dolphins are mammals. But as you know, mammals have to have fur, but dolphins don't really have fur. But it turns out they're actually born with like whiskers by their nose, so that's why I just learned that. So, and there's also things like fishes, like sharks, and the scaled fishes, like the ones we eat. Jellyfish and starfish are not technically fish. Jellyfish are invertebrates because they don't have spines. And starfish are known as echinoderms, and they fall in the same family as sand dollars and barnacles. But for the sake of all these scientific names, we're just going to call them fish. Other types of marine life include microorganisms such as algae. Algae are mainly eaten by frogs and fish. And then there's plankton. Phytoplankton is the first one, and they get their energy from the sun. And then they get eaten by zooplankton, which are a little bit bigger, and then they get eaten by fish. So in the food pyramid of the sea, phytoplankton are at the very bottom. Other types of marine life include things like crustaceans, the very fancy things we eat at restaurants, which are shrimp, which is my favorite, crabs, and lobsters. All crustaceans have an exoskeleton, like you can see. And that's basically their bones are on the outside of their body rather than the inside like us. So on the inside, all their meat is fleshy and soft, and that keeps them safe. However, their exoskeleton does not grow, so they need to molt it. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but that one episode of SpongeBob where Mr. Krabs is walking around naked, that's why. He needs to molt it so that he can grow. Other types of marine life include sea plants. Now there's a quotation mark around this because they are not actually plants. They do not get their energy from the sun. They're actually living, plants are living too, but they are considered animals. The sea anemone, like the one you see in Finding Nemo, where Nemo and his dad live, it is a predatory animal because its stinger, these little thingies right here, they have like poison, like they sting kind of like a jellyfish. And that's why the clownfish can live in them because it doesn't affect the clownfish. But when a shark is chasing them, the shark will be chased away kind of by the stingers because he can't get to them now. And corals also are not plants, even though they look like a plant. And they're very pretty, they live in colonies, and they house phytoplankton. And a lot of people go to snorkel so they can look at them and take pictures. For my next point, I will talk about how marine life affects us. Marine life actually provides our basic needs for survival. According to EarthSky, a website about Earth and space science, in their article, How Much Does the Ocean Add to the World's Oxygen? It actually adds about 70% of our oxygen that we breathe. And you might think, like, how does that happen? Because it's just water, right? But actually the phytoplankton, like I talked about earlier, that gets its energy from the sun, they, just like plants and trees on Earth, or on land, I guess, that give us oxygen as we give them CO2 so they can get that energy to power themselves. Phytoplankton do the same thing, and there's so many phytoplankton in the sea, so that's why it gives us about 70%. And it also provides 97% of our water supply, and I guess it's pretty explanatory because, it's water. It also supplies for our economy. You can find many, many jobs in tourism, recreational activity, marine transport, fishing, and boating that all revolve around marine life. Because think about it, if you want to go snorkeling, you have to buy snorkeling equipment from a surf shop or wherever. You have to maybe ask someone to teach you how to snorkel or surf, whatever it might be. you have to pay someone to get on a boat to get into the water or a ferry. And if you eat fish, someone has to go fish and like get you that salmon or that tuna to put in the supermarket for you to buy. So there's a lot, if the water wasn't here anymore, we'd be losing a lot of jobs, more than you might realize. For my next point, I will talk about how we affect marine life. We actually affect marine life in a lot of negative ways rather than positive. One of them is pollution. According to oceans.edu, a website that talks about the oceans around the world, the Gulf oil spill, which is known as the BP oil spill, was one of the worst oil spills in all of marine history. This happened in 2010, April, and honestly, the ocean is still being affected by it today. As you guys might know, oil does not dissolve in water like salt and other things, so it just floats on the top, and when animals such as like seagulls might fly into that to catch fish, or fish themselves, or like whales get caught in that, it actually sticks to them, and they don't have like showers or hands and feet like we do, so they can't take that off of them. As you can see here, they're just trapped in it, and it damages their health. You know, it's like having CO2 in our air. You know, you can die from CO2 poisoning, same thing. And also runoff from agricultural products. Many of you may not know, but the fertilizers and pesticides that we use in our grass can eventually get into the sewer, which eventually gets back into the water supply, and it's a pesticide, so that means poison, and that can poison the animals in the ocean as well. We also affect marine life negatively by littering. As you may know, a lot of people go to the beaches and they litter. They don't throw their trash in the trash can, and they just leave it there on the sand. And as the shore comes in, it takes the trash out with it, and it happens over and over, and the trash ends up getting so far, and like as you can see here, a turtle is stuck in a wrapping that would hold sodas, right? And like I said earlier, they don't have hands and feet and thumbs like we do, so they can't escape from that. And now he's grown like a number 8 because he can't escape from it now. And also there's garbage misplacement. Even the garbage that you throw in your home can eventually run back and affect the animals in the ocean, because if you throw things like, when you're cooking, and you throw things like oils and fat down the sink, that can also run down your drain and into the sea back again. Just like the same effect that the BP oil spill had, it's still oil. Now let's conclude. Today I talked about the types of marine life, how they affect us, and how we affect them. The ocean is here to help us, yet we keep destroying.